To date, Hyundai's Go Fast N offerings have been largely limited to hatchbacks, whereas now it's expanding, literally, with the Kona N SUV. Essentially, it wraps the mechanicals of the updated i30N in a taller body. But is that such a good idea? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and like the video and subscribe to the channel while you're at it. There are two variants of the Kona N. The standard, which starts at $47,500, and the premium tested here, which is an extra $3,000. In terms of colours, white, red and this signature performance blue attract no extra charge, black and grey are $595, and the matte rose gold, which sounds terrible but actually looks really cool, will set you back an extra $1,000. On the one hand, the Kona N's price and positioning means it doesn't really have any natural rivals. On the other, you could view it as an alternative to traditional hot hatches such as the Renault Sport Megane, Ford Focus ST, VW Golf GTI and Hyundai i30N. The exterior styling is relatively familiar from the Kona N Line models, with body-coloured wheel arch surrounds, 19-inch rims, black mirrors and a body kit, including side skirts, rear spoiler and diffuser, as well as an N-specific grille. Engine-wise, it's a straight lift from the updated i30N hatch, which means a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder producing 206 kilowatts and 392 Newton meters. Hyundai did a lot of work on this engine for that update to increase torque and broaden the power spread. Unlike the hatch, the only available transmission for the Kona is an 8-speed dual clutch, and power is sent to the front wheels only through a limited slip differential. Despite lacking all-wheel drive, 0 to 100 km an hour is quoted to take just 5.5 seconds, but the claimed combined fuel consumption is a relatively high 9 litres per 100k, though I will come back to that. Up front, the first thing to notice is the raised driving position compared to the hatch. I'd like it a little lower, though that would probably defeat the purpose of having an SUV. Hyundai has stuffed a lot of kit into this Kona N, but there's no hiding the fact that it's based on a fairly basic model. There's a large infotainment touchscreen, digital instruments, powered, heated and ventilated seats, a heated steering wheel, a sunroof, Harman Kardon stereo and a head-up display, but also plenty of hard plastic that hasn't been upgraded from the base Kona. Storage is okay, with decent sized door bottle holders, a pair of cup holders, the wireless charging cubby and another area ahead of that. The Kona, like the updated i30, now uses this upgraded 10.25-inch widescreen infotainment unit, and whether you're using their native functions or smartphone mirroring, it's pretty easy to use. Though it must be said that some functions are buried in submenus, which take a bit of finding. It can also occasionally ignore your taps and swipes. As well as the usual navigation, media and app functionality, the infotainment screen also allows adjustment of the Kona N's performance features, such as launch control, a lap timer and the ability to set up 2 custom drive modes to your own preferences, selected using the 2 N buttons on the steering wheel. The digital instruments also have a number of different displays depending on the drive mode selected, whether it be Eco, Normal, Sport or N. A rear view camera is aided by sensors front and rear, though be warned that the Kona N's turning circle is definitely on the larger side. 8 airbags are standard, as well as a raft of active safety tech, but it's important to mention that the lane keep assist doesn't default to on when you start the car if it's been previously deactivated. You might think that being an SUV means the Kona will offer more room than the i30, but it's actually 125mm shorter in length with a 50mm shorter wheelbase, and that means less space. To be honest, there's not a drastic difference, and as long as the front seat passengers aren't too tall, there's still sufficient room back here for adults. The kiddie seats might be a bit of a squeeze. There's also further evidence of the Kona's basic roots. There's only a single USB port, no air vents, the backrest doesn't recline like in larger SUVs, and the door pockets are quite small. It's functional, but not flash. This carries over into the boot, which despite using a space saver spare, doesn't offer the same carrying capacity as the i30. You get a luggage net, a light and a handy little storage tray under the floor, but the floor itself is quite high and there's also no 12-volt outlet like in its hatchback sibling. If you do need more space, the rear seats fold 60/40. So far we've covered a lot of the Kona side of things. What about the N part of the equation? Despite the raised perch, there's no doubting the Kona N's performance intent from the moment you get behind the wheel. The steering is weighty and the ride is restless, even with the dampers set to their softest mode. Nudge the suspension into its middle setting, and while it is firmer, it also feels more cohesive. Doing the same with the engine improved throttle response makes the dual clutch transmission more decisive and reveals a little more of the Kona's character. You can also make the steering heavier, but as mentioned, it's already pretty weighty, so I've left that alone. This is a good combo of settings for road driving, and thus configured, the Kona does a pretty good impersonation of a hot hatch. Take things a step further though, and the Kona N really starts to bare its teeth. With the engine and gearbox set to their most aggressive modes, there's backfires from the exhaust, and the limited slip diff does its best to put all that power to the road. It does so quite successfully too, though you'll need to be up for the occasional wrestle with the steering wheel. The Kona N impresses on a twisty road with strong brakes, plenty of grip, lots of power and even some squirming around to involve the driver. It'll even pick up its inside rear wheel in tight corners. There's actually a button here on the steering wheel called N Grin Shift, which immediately switches the engine to maximum attack regardless of the mode you're in. Driven in this manner, don't expect to match the claimed combined fuel figure. However, in more sedate use, I've been averaging around 7.5 litres per 100k or so, which is reasonable for a car with this performance potential. In terms of other running costs, servicing is every 12 months or 10,000 Ks and will cost $335 per service for the first 5 years. This is also the length of the warranty period, and coverage is for unlimited kilometres. So is an SUV version of the i30N a good idea? The Kona N has its charms. It's a unique offering with plenty of performance and eye-catching looks in a booming segment, so it's going to find favour with some buyers. But objectively, I'm not so sure. That the regular i30N hatch is quicker and more enjoyable to drive probably isn't surprising, but it's also roomier and more practical, so I don't really see the benefit of the SUV packaging. If you do want a sporty Kona, the N Line Premium sacrifices some speed, but you get the looks, the gear, all-wheel drive, and almost 10 grand extra in your pocket.